My name is Jessica. I am a student. I live in London, which is a very lively and exciting city. London is full of life. There are many people, places, and cultures. I love being here because I can learn so much. Today, I want to share something special with you. I want to tell you about my journey. This is not just any journey. It is my journey from silence to speech. When I say silence, I mean a time when I did not speak English well. I felt quiet and shy. Sometimes I was afraid to talk to people. I wanted to say things, but I could not find the words. Do you know that feeling? Maybe you have felt it too. Now I can speak English better. I can join conversations, make friends, and share my thoughts. This change did not happen overnight. It took time and effort. But I want you to know that it is possible. I believe my story can inspire you. I want to show you that with hard work, you can go from feeling quiet to feeling confident. Learning a new language can be a wonderful adventure. It can open doors to new opportunities. In this video, I will talk about my experiences. I will share my challenges and my successes. You will hear about the moments that made me feel proud and the times when I felt afraid. I hope my journey can help you on your own path to learning English. If you feel nervous or shy, remember that you are not alone. Many people feel this way. But together, we can overcome our fears. So, let's begin this journey together. I am excited to share my story with you. Are you ready? Let's go. Moving to London was a big change for me. It was exciting, but it was also scary. I remember arriving in the city and feeling a rush of emotions. London is a huge city with many people. There are bright lights, tall buildings, and lots of sounds. It can be overwhelming. At first, I felt like a fish out of water. Have you ever felt this way? It means you feel uncomfortable and out of place. I was in a new city where everyone spoke English. I wanted to communicate, but I wasn't sure how. I felt lost. For example, one of my first experiences was trying to order a coffee. I walked into a cafe and my heart was racing. The menu was full of words I didn't understand. There were different types of coffee, sizes, and flavors. I wanted to order a simple coffee, but I was nervous. When it was my turn, I stood there, staring at the menu. I felt like I was playing a game of charades. You know, when you try to act out a word or a phrase without speaking, it was like everyone was guessing what I wanted, and I was the one who kept losing. I finally managed to say coffee, but I was unsure if I said it right. The barista looked at me, and I felt my face turn red. This experience was difficult, but it was also a lesson. I realized that everyone has to start somewhere. That initial silence was my first step in learning. I learned that it's okay to be quiet at first. It's normal to feel shy or unsure. Silence can be powerful. It gives you time to think, observe, and prepare. In the silence, I could watch and listen to others. I saw how people spoke, how they used their hands, and how they expressed their feelings. I began to appreciate the beauty of language. Every word carries meaning. Every word is like a tool. When we use words, we can create connections with others. As I listened to conversations around me, I noticed how people laughed and shared stories. I saw the joy on their faces when they talked. I wanted to feel that joy too. Each conversation I heard was an opportunity to learn, I learned to observe how people interacted. I watched their body language and their expressions. I understood that communication is not just about words. It is also about feelings and connections. I noticed that when someone spoke, others listened. They responded with smiles, nods, or laughter. This made me realize that language is not just about talking. It's about sharing experiences and feelings. With time, I began to feel more comfortable. I started to gather the courage to speak. My first attempts were small. I would say simple things like hello or thank you. Each time I spoke, I felt a little bit more confident. I also learned to celebrate small victories. Every time I ordered food or spoke to someone, it was a win for me. It didn't matter how small it was. What mattered was that I was trying. My journey was not easy. There were times I felt frustrated. There were moments when I made mistakes, and I felt embarrassed. But each mistake was a chance to learn. Each moment of silence was a chance to grow. Over time, I started to find my voice. I became excited about learning. I realized that I could express myself and connect with others. The more I practiced, the more I began to enjoy it. As I continued to observe and practice, I found beauty in the English language. I loved how words could create images in my mind. I loved how they could tell stories. Every new word I learned felt like a small treasure. I collected these words like building blocks. With each block, I was building my ability to communicate. I was building my confidence. This journey from silence to speech is a process. It takes time, patience, and practice. But remember, every small step counts. Every word you learn is a step forward. So, if you find yourself in a similar situation, don't be afraid. Embrace the silence. Use it to observe, to think, and to prepare. Each moment of quiet can lead to a moment of connection. You are not alone in this journey. Many people have felt the same way. Together, we can learn, grow, and celebrate our progress. Language is a beautiful thing, and it can connect us all. Let's continue on this journey together. Once I embraced my silence, the next step was building my foundation. This was an important moment for me. I realized that to speak English well, I needed to start with something strong. Just like building a house, I needed a solid foundation. The foundation for learning a language is vocabulary. Vocabulary means the words we use every day. At first, I focused on basic words and phrases. These are the building blocks of language. Think of it like laying bricks for a house. You can't build a strong house without good bricks. Similarly, you can't communicate well without words. I remember the first few words I learned. Simple words like hello, please, and thank you. These words are small, but they are very important. They help you start conversations and show kindness to others. Have you ever counted how many words you need to communicate effectively? You might be surprised. Studies show that you can have a basic conversation with just a few hundred words. When I learned this, it made me feel better. It felt achievable. To build my vocabulary, I dedicated time every day to practice. I set aside a little time in the morning and evening. This routine helped me stay consistent. It became a part of my day. I used different tools to help me learn. Apps on my phone were very helpful. There are many language learning apps available that make learning fun. They have games, quizzes, and exercises that keep you engaged. I enjoyed using these apps because they made learning feel like playing. Another great tool was flashcards. I made my own flashcards with words on one side and pictures on the other. For example, I would write the word apple on one side and draw a picture of an apple on the other side. This helped me remember the words better. Using flashcards was like having a mini quiz with myself. I would test my memory and see how many words I could remember. Each time I got a word right, I felt a little thrill. It was a small victory that boosted my confidence. I also talked to myself in the mirror. This might sound funny, but it helped me practice speaking. I would look at myself and say the words and phrases I was learning. I would practice my pronunciation and how to express different emotions. Talking to myself helped me feel more comfortable using the language. As I learned new words, each one felt like a mini victory. I celebrated every little success. When I learned a new word, I would write it down in my notebook. I kept track of all the words I had learned. This helped me see how much I was improving. Every time I wrote a new word, I felt motivated to keep going. It was like collecting treasures. Each word was a small piece of my language journey. I also started to use the words I learned in my daily life. I would try to use them when I spoke with others. For example, if I learned the word friend, I would practice saying, "This is my friend." Using new words helped me remember them better. At times, I would make mistakes. Maybe I would use a word incorrectly or forget how to say something. But instead of feeling bad, I saw these moments as opportunities to learn. Mistakes are a part of the process. They help us grow. With each word I learned, I could feel my confidence growing. I started to join conversations more often. I felt less nervous about speaking. I knew that even if I made mistakes, I was still learning. Building my vocabulary was like planting seeds. With time, those seeds began to grow. As I learned more words, I started to understand sentences and phrases better. I also discovered that context is important. Sometimes, the same word can mean different things depending on how it is used. For example, the word light can mean something that is not heavy, or it can mean something that makes things bright. Understanding context helped me become a better communicator. As I practiced daily, I noticed changes in myself. I was no longer afraid to ask questions or express my thoughts. I felt more connected to others. Conversations became enjoyable instead of scary. Building my vocabulary was a journey that required patience. Some days were harder than others, but I kept reminding myself of my goals. I wanted to communicate, connect, and share my thoughts with others. Every small step I took in learning words added up. It was like climbing a mountain. Each step might seem small, but together they take you higher and higher. Eventually, I could use simple sentences. I could say things like, "I like coffee," or "I enjoy reading." These sentences opened new doors for me. I could express my likes and dislikes. I could share my opinions. I also learned that vocabulary is not just about words, it's also about phrases. Phrases are groups of words that go together. For example, "How are you?" is a common phrase. Learning phrases helped me sound more natural when I spoke. To keep expanding my vocabulary, I tried to read every day. I would read simple books or articles. Reading introduced me to new words and phrases. It helped me see how they are used in context. Sometimes I would come across a word I didn't know. When this happened, I would stop and look it up. I would write it down in my notebook along with its meaning. This made me curious and excited to learn more. Music was another great tool. I listened to English songs and tried to understand the lyrics. Singing along helped me practice pronunciation and rhythm. It made learning enjoyable. As I continued to build my vocabulary, I began to feel a sense of pride. I was no longer the quiet person who felt lost. I was becoming someone who could communicate and connect with others. Each word I learned brought me closer to my goal. I was transforming from silence to speech, and it felt amazing. So, if you are on a similar journey, remember that building vocabulary is a key part of learning a language. Start with the basics, use different tools, and practice every day. Celebrate your victories, no matter how small they seem. Every word you learn is a step forward. With time and effort, you will build a strong foundation. And just like me, you will find your voice. This was an exciting step in my journey. I had learned many words, and now I wanted to use them to make sentences. Creating sentences is like building a house. The words are the bricks, and sentences are the walls. At first, making sentences felt a bit tricky. I remember sitting down with my notebook. I would try to put words together. For example, I would take the word I, add like, and then coffee. So I could say, I like coffee. This simple sentence was a big victory for me. It meant I could express something I enjoy. Making sentences made me feel more confident. I was no longer just learning words. I was starting to communicate. Once I started making sentences, everything changed. I felt like I could share my thoughts and feelings. It was like magic. I wanted to learn more, so I looked for opportunities to practice. One of the best things I did was join language exchange groups. These groups were a game changer for me. In these groups, people come together to practice languages. Some people want to learn English, and others want to learn different languages. When I joined a language exchange group, I felt nervous at first. I walked into the room and saw many people talking and laughing, but I knew this was a good chance to practice. During our meetings, we would sit in pairs or small groups. We would take turns speaking in English and in our native languages. This helped everyone practice. I started by introducing myself. I said, "Hello, my name is Jessica. I am learning English." At first, I only spoke simple sentences. But with each meeting, I felt more comfortable. I began to use more words and form longer sentences. I was amazed at how much I could express. One day, during a language exchange, we began discussing our feelings. This felt new and a bit scary. Talking about feelings is personal, but I knew it was a good opportunity to practice. I started by saying, "I feel happy today." Everyone nodded and smiled. Then, someone else said, "I feel sad." I realized that sharing feelings helps us connect with each other. It was nice to hear what others were feeling too. But sometimes, funny things happened. I remember one time when I mixed up my words. I wanted to say, "I'm sad," but instead I said, "I'm mad." Everyone laughed. It was hilarious. In that moment, I learned that mistakes are okay. They can be funny, and they help us learn. The group was supportive. We all made mistakes, and we laughed together. This made me feel more comfortable speaking English. As I continued to practice, I noticed something important. Engaging in conversations helped me learn the rhythm of English. Rhythm is how we stress certain words. and how we flow from one word to another. When I spoke with others, I heard how they expressed themselves. I listened to the way they connected their ideas. For example, when someone told a story, they would use different tones and pauses. This made the conversation interesting. I began to understand that communication is more than just words. It's about how we say things, too. I tried to mimic the way others spoke. This helped me sound more natural when I talked. Through these conversations, I also learned about context. Context is the situation in which words are used. For example, if someone says, "It's cold," it could mean they are talking about the weather, but it could also mean they are feeling lonely. I learned to pay attention to the context of conversations. This helped me understand better what people meant. I could respond more appropriately based on the situation. With each conversation, I felt more free to express my ideas and emotions. I began to share my thoughts on different topics. Sometimes we talked about travel, food, and hobbies. Other times, we discussed our dreams and goals. Each time I spoke, I discovered the beauty of language. Words can create pictures in our minds. They can evoke feelings and emotions. When I expressed my ideas, I felt a sense of joy. For example, I remember one conversation about travel. I shared my dream of visiting the beach. I said, "I want to go to the beach and see the ocean." As I spoke, I could see the excitement in my friends' faces. They shared their travel dreams too. These moments were special. We connected through our words. I learned that expressing ideas and emotions is a powerful way to communicate. As I practiced more, I began to feel like a part of the group. I was no longer just watching others speak. I was joining in. This was exhilarating. I remember the first time I contributed to a discussion. I felt nervous, but I raised my hand and shared my opinion. When I finished speaking, I felt a rush of happiness. I had taken part in the conversation. Being an active participant made me feel confident. I realized that my voice mattered, my ideas were valuable, and I could contribute to discussions just like everyone else. As time passed, I grew even more comfortable. I started to lead conversations, asking questions and sharing my thoughts. This was a big change for me. I was no longer afraid of speaking. The language exchange group became a safe space for me. We supported each other and celebrated our progress. Each meeting was an opportunity to learn and grow together. With each discussion, I saw that learning a language is a journey. There are ups and downs, but every step is important. I was developing my speaking skills, gaining confidence, and making friends along the way. Sometimes, I would leave a meeting feeling a little discouraged. Maybe I didn't express myself as well as I wanted. But the next time, I would try again. I learned that persistence is key. Every time I spoke, I improved. Every conversation was a chance to practice. With each discussion, I was becoming a better speaker. Look for opportunities to practice. Join groups or find friends who speak the language. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Laugh at them, learn from them, and keep going. Engaging in conversations will help you learn context and rhythm. You will discover the beauty of expressing ideas and emotions. You will feel exhilarated to be an active participant. Your journey may be challenging, but it will also be rewarding. Each conversation brings you closer to your goal. You can do it. With growing confidence, I decided to tackle public speaking. This was a big step for me. Public speaking is when you talk in front of many people. It can be scary, right? But I knew I had to try. I had learned so much, and I wanted to share my ideas. When I thought about public speaking, I felt nervous. My heart would race, and my palms would sweat. But then I reminded myself that every great speaker was once a beginner. Everyone starts somewhere. Even famous speakers like Barack Obama or Malala Yousafzai were nervous when they first started speaking. Imagine standing in front of a room full of people. They are all looking at you, waiting to hear what you have to say. It sounds intimidating, doesn't it? But what if I told you it could be fun? Yes, public speaking can actually be enjoyable. It's a chance to express yourself and share your thoughts. When you speak, you have the power to inspire others and connect with them. To face my fear, I decided to take action. I looked for local speaking events. I found out about a group called Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a club that helps people improve their speaking skills. It is a supportive environment where everyone wants to learn and grow. At my first Toastmasters meeting, I felt nervous. I walked into the room and saw many faces. Some people were smiling, while others looked serious. But everyone was friendly. They welcomed me with open arms. During the meeting, members took turns speaking. Some shared stories, while others gave presentations. I listened carefully and took notes. I wanted to learn from them. After a while, it was my turn to speak. I stood up, and my heart raced again. When I began speaking, I felt a wave of fear wash over me. But I took a deep breath and focused on my message. I spoke slowly and clearly. I shared a story about my journey learning English. As I spoke, I noticed the audience listening intently. In that moment, I realized something important. Public speaking is not just about talking. It's about connecting with people. When you share a story or idea, you invite others into your world. You let them see your experiences and feelings. Connecting with others is magical. It creates a bond. When I finished speaking, I received applause. I felt proud of myself. I had taken a big step and faced my fear. After my first experience, I wanted to speak more. Each time I spoke, I felt more confident. I started to enjoy it. I realized that everyone in the room had their own stories too. They had experiences and feelings that mattered. When I shared my stories, others would often share theirs in return. This created a wonderful exchange. We laughed, cried, and supported each other. I felt like I was part of a community. In Toastmasters, I learned different techniques for effective speaking. I practiced using gestures, maintaining eye contact, and varying my voice. These skills helped me engage my audience better. Before each speaking event, I would prepare. I would write down my ideas and practice my speech. I looked in the mirror and practiced speaking out loud. This helped me feel more comfortable when it was time to present. Preparation made a big difference. The more I practiced, the easier it became to speak in front of people. I learned to visualize myself speaking successfully. I imagined the audience smiling and nodding as I spoke. As I continued my public speaking journey, I faced my fears head-on. Each time I spoke, I grew a little more. I learned to embrace my nerves. Instead of seeing them as a weakness, I started to view them as excitement. I began to understand that everyone gets nervous. Even experienced speakers can feel anxious. It's a natural part of the process. The key is to keep going despite those feelings. With my newfound confidence, I decided to share my story with others outside of Toastmasters. I wanted to inspire people who were also learning English. I spoke at community events and local schools. When I shared my experiences, I saw the impact it had on others. They related to my struggles and victories. It felt wonderful to encourage them. I wanted them to know that they could overcome their fears too. As I became more confident in my speaking skills, new opportunities arose. I was invited to speak at various events. I spoke about language learning, the importance of perseverance, and embracing challenges. Each time I took the stage, I felt grateful. Public speaking opened new doors for me. I met new people and built connections I never imagined. In Toastmasters, we also practiced giving and receiving feedback. After each speech, members would offer constructive feedback. At first, I was nervous about receiving feedback, but I quickly learned that it was a gift. Feedback helped me improve my skills. It taught me what I did well and what I could work on. I learned to listen with an open mind. I appreciated the support of my fellow members. With every speech and every piece of feedback, I grew. I started to enjoy the journey of self-improvement. I embraced challenges and set goals for myself. I remember one goal was to speak for longer periods. I wanted to develop my ability to give longer presentations. I practiced and worked hard, and eventually, I achieved that goal. Through my public speaking experiences, I met amazing people. I connected with others who shared my passion for communication. We supported each other and celebrated each other's successes. These connections were invaluable. I learned from their experiences and gained inspiration. Public speaking is not just about the individual. It's about the community we build together. As I look to the future, I am excited about continuing my public speaking journey. I want to keep challenging myself and sharing my story. I believe that everyone has a voice, and we all have stories worth telling. If you are considering public speaking, I encourage you to take that step. Join a group, find opportunities to practice, and embrace the journey. You may discover that you too can enjoy the magic of connecting with others through your words. In conclusion, public speaking transformed my life. It helped me grow, connect, and inspire others. I encourage you to explore this path, embrace the fear, celebrate the victories, and share your voice with the world. Thank you for being part of my journey. Let's continue to support each other as we learn and grow together. Learning a new language is not just about words and grammar. It's also about feelings.